Stop lying to yourself. You know exactly what you need to do. You've known for months, maybe years. You know you need to start that business. You know you need to have that conversation. You know you need to change that habit. You know you need to take that risk. The problem isn't that you don't know what to do. The problem is that you don't feel like doing it. So you don't do it. And then you wonder why your life never changes. You wonder why you're still stuck in the same place, dealing with the same problems, having the same conversations, living the same mediocre existence. Here's what's really happening. You're waiting for a feeling that's never going to come. You're waiting to feel brave. But brave isn't a feeling, it's a decision. You're waiting to feel ready. But ready isn't an emotion, it's an action. You're waiting to feel motivated. But motivation is a result of movement, not a requirement for it. And while you're waiting, time is passing, opportunities are disappearing, and your potential is dying. The life you could be living is being lived by someone else who stopped waiting and started moving. How much longer are you going to let your feelings steal your future? You know what separates the person who builds an empire from the person who builds excuses? It's not talent. It's not connections. It's not even opportunity. It's the ability to do what needs to be done when you don't feel like doing it right now, as I speak to you. There's a war happening inside every single person in this room. It's the war between what you planned to do and what you feel like doing. And I'm here to tell you that whoever wins that war determines the quality of your entire life. This morning, before the sun came up, your alarm went off. And in that moment, you had a choice. Your plan said, get up and exercise. Your mood said, stay in bed for 5 more minutes. Your plan said, work on that business proposal. Your mood said, scroll through social media. Your plan said, call that person you've been avoiding. Your mood said, wait until you feel ready. And in those small moments, in those seemingly insignificant decisions, your entire destiny was being shaped. Let me tell you about a man named Roland. Roland was brilliant. He had studied architecture for 7 years. He designed the most beautiful buildings you've ever seen. When he started his own firm, everyone said he was going to revolutionize the industry. His first major project was a commercial complex that would change the skyline of his city for the first 6 months. Roland was on fire. He worked 18-hour days. He slept in his office. He lived and breathed that project. His passion was so intense you could feel it when he walked into a room. But then something shifted. Month 7 came, and Roland woke up one morning, and he didn't feel excited anymore. The passion had dimmed. The fire had cooled. He told himself he'd work on it tomorrow. Tomorrow became next week. Next week became next month. By month 9, Roland abandoned the project completely. He walked away from everything he had built. Do you know what happened to that building? Another architect picked it up, finished it in 4 months, and today that building stands as a monument not to Roland's talent, but to his tragedy. That building could have launched Roland's career into the stratosphere. Instead, it became a tombstone, marking the death of his potential. And what killed him? It wasn't lack of skill. It wasn't lack of resources. It was the decision to follow his mood instead of his plan. See, here's what most people don't understand about moods. A mood is nothing more than a temporary emotional state. It's like weather. This morning it might be cloudy, but that doesn't mean the sun disappeared. The sun is still there, it's just hidden behind temporary clouds. Your purpose is the sun. Your plan is the sun. Your mood is just clouds passing by. But we've been trained by society to treat our moods like they're sacred truth. We wake up and we check in with our feelings like they're some kind of oracle that knows our future. How do I feel today? Do I feel motivated? Do I feel inspired? Do I feel ready? And based on those feelings, we make decisions that determine whether we move forward or stand still. But let me tell you something that will change your life if you hear it. Your feelings are the worst advisor you could ever hire. Your feelings will tell you to quit when you're 3 steps from the finish line. Your feelings will tell you to sleep when you should be working. Your feelings will tell you to play when you should be building. Your feelings will tell you to wait when you should be moving. So your feelings are like a child who wants candy for breakfast. Just because the child wants it doesn't mean it's good for them. Just because you feel something doesn't mean you should follow it. Now, I need you to understand the difference between motivation and commitment, because this is where most people get lost. Motivation is what gets you started. It's that initial surge of energy that makes you sign up for the gym membership, start the business, begin the project. Motivation feels good. It's exciting. It's emotional. But motivation is like gasoline. It burns up quickly. Commitment is what keeps you going when the motivation runs out. Commitment says, I'm going to do this whether I feel like it or not. Commitment says, my word is more important than my mood. Commitment says, I decided on Monday, so I'm not going to redecide on Wednesday just because Wednesday feels different than Monday did. Think about an Olympic athlete training at 5 in the morning when it's cold and dark outside. Do you think they feel like running? Do you think they feel like lifting weights until their muscles scream? No. They do it because they made a commitment to a plan that's bigger than their temporary discomfort. The athlete understands something that most people never learn. They understand that feelings are seasonal, but goals are eternal. They understand that motivation will fail them, but discipline will carry them. They understand that the person who waits to feel ready will wait forever, because ready is not a feeling, ready is a decision. You see, we've been sold this lie that says you should only do what you're passionate about. Follow your passion, they say. Do what makes you happy. Wait until it feels right. And that sounds beautiful, doesn't it? It sounds spiritual. It sounds enlightened. But it's a trap. Because what happens when you don't feel passionate on Tuesday? What happens when Wednesday comes and you're tired? What happens when Thursday arrives and you're discouraged if you're only moving when you feel like moving? You're going to spend most of your life standing still. The graveyard is full of people who had incredible plans but who decided to wait until they felt ready, and they died waiting, with their music still inside them, with their books still unwritten, with their businesses still unlaunched, with their potential still unrealized. Don't let that be your story. Now let me tell you why this is so difficult for most people. We live in a generation that has been systematically trained to worship comfort. Everything in our modern world is designed to make things easier, faster, more convenient. You don't like the temperature? Adjust the thermostat. You're hungry? Order food to your door. You're bored? Infinite entertainment at your fingertips. We've become so accustomed to immediate relief from discomfort that we've lost the ability to sit with anything that doesn't feel good. And that's dangerous. Because greatness lives on the other side of discomfort. Success lives on the other side of the feelings you don't want to feel. Your destiny is waiting for you in the place where your mood says, don't go. I knew a farmer once, old man named Gregory. Gregory worked a piece of land that had been in his family for 3 generations. Every morning, whether it was blazing summer heat or freezing winter cold, Gregory was in those fields. I remember asking him one day, I said, Gregory, don't you ever just want to stay in bed? Don't you ever just not feel like working? He looked at me with these weathered eyes and he said, something I'll never forget. He said, son, the crops don't care how I feel. If I plant in spring based on my mood, my family starves in winter based on reality. You see, Gregory understood that nature doesn't negotiate with your feelings. The seasons don't wait for you to feel ready. The harvest doesn't come because you're motivated. The harvest comes because you did the work when the work needed to be done, regardless of how you felt about it. But here's what happens to most people. They start living by their moods and they don't even realize it. Let me give you 3 signs that your mood has become your master. First sign, you constantly restart things but never finish them. You start the diet on Monday with all kinds of enthusiasm, but by Friday you've quit because you don't feel like restricting yourself anymore. You start the business with passion, but 3 months in when it gets hard, you convince yourself it wasn't meant to be. You start the course, the project, the relationship, and you abandon it the moment your emotions shift. That's sign number one. Second sign, you're always waiting for the right time. You tell yourself you'll start when you feel more confident. You'll make the call when you feel less anxious. You'll take the risk when you feel more secure. But here's the truth. That perfect feeling never comes. You're waiting for an emotion that doesn't exist. You're waiting to feel brave. But courage isn't the absence of fear. Courage is action in the presence of fear. You're waiting to feel ready. But ready isn't a feeling. It's a decision. So you wait and you wait and you wait. And life passes you by while you're sitting in the waiting room of your emotions. Third sign, your results are inconsistent. 1 month you're on fire, the next month you're frozen. 1 week you're productive, the next week you're paralyzed. Your bank account goes up and down like a roller coaster. Your relationships are unstable. Your progress is unpredictable. And you know why? Because you're riding the wave of your emotions instead of sailing by the compass of your plan. When you feel good, you do good. When you feel bad, you do nothing. And that inconsistency guarantees that you'll never build anything substantial. Because everything substantial requires sustained effort over time. Let me tell you what this costs you. When you make decisions based on feelings instead of plans, you pay a price that's bigger than you realize financially. You stay broke because you spend when you feel like spending instead of saving according to your plan. You see something you want and your emotions say buy it, even though your plan says save it. You feel like taking the day off, even though your plan says work. And year after year, your financial situation stays the same because your feelings keep making the same expensive decisions. In your relationships, you stay lonely because you pull away when you feel hurt instead of communicating according to your commitment. You feel like being distant, so you withdraw. You feel like being angry, so you lash out. You feel like running, so you leave. And you wonder why your relationships never last, why people don't trust you, why you can't build deep connections. It's because your emotions are driving the car, and emotions are terrible drivers. They swerve left and right based on traffic. They take exits that went on the map. They crash into things that could have been avoided if you had just followed the plan. In your career, you stay stuck because you only work when you feel inspired instead of working according to your schedule. You had a plan to wake up early and build your side business, but you didn't feel like it, so you didn't do it. You had a plan to apply for that promotion, but you felt intimidated, so you stayed quiet. You had a plan to learn that new skill, but you felt tired, so you watched television instead. And 5 years later, you're in the same position wondering why nothing has changed. Nothing has changed because you keep choosing temporary comfort over permanent progress. Here's what you need to understand. Your mood is not your reality. Your mood is a liar. Your mood will tell you that you can't when you can. Your mood will tell you that you're not ready when you are. Your mood will tell you to quit when you're almost there. Your mood will tell you it's too hard when it's just hard enough to be worth it. Champions don't believe their moods. Champions do what needs to be done, whether they feel like it or not. Champions understand that feelings change every few hours, but purpose remains constant. And they choose to align their actions with their purpose, not with their passing emotions. So how do you break free from this prison of emotions? How do you stop being controlled by feelings that change like the wind? It starts with something I call the power of predecision. See, most people make decisions in the moment. They wait until the moment arrives, and then they ask themselves, what do I feel like doing right now? And that's where they lose. Because in that moment, your emotions are at their strongest and your resolve is at its weakest. But what if you didn't decide in the moment? What if you decided beforehand? When your mind was clear and your vision was strong. I know a businessman named Kenneth. Kenneth built a company that's worth millions today. But when he started, he was nobody. He was working a regular job and trying to build his business on the side. And Kenneth did something that changed everything. Every Sunday evening, he would sit down with a calendar and he would schedule his entire week. Not just meetings and appointments, but everything. He scheduled when he would wake up, when he would work on his business, when he would exercise, when he would spend time with his family. And here's the key. Once he wrote it down, it was non-negotiable. Monday morning would come and his alarm would go off at 5 and he wouldn't ask himself, do I feel like getting up? That question wasn't even on the table. He had already decided on Sunday. The decision was made. All that was left was execution. Kenneth told me something powerful. He said, when I stopped negotiating with myself every morning, I stopped losing battles every morning. You see, every time you redecide something, you give your emotions a vote. And your emotions will always vote for comfort. But when you pre-decide, when you make the choice before the feeling arrives, you take the vote away from your emotions. You've already cast your ballot. The election is over. Now you just follow through. This is how you build what I call your unchangeable core. These are the non-negotiables in your life. These are the things that happen whether you feel like it or not. For some people, it's prayer every morning. For others, it's exercise. For others, it's working on their business for 2 hours before the rest of the world wakes up. But whatever it is, it's unchangeable. It's not dependent on circumstances. It's not dependent on feelings. It's dependent only on your decision. Let me tell you about a woman named Lydia. Lydia was a single mother with 3 children. She was working 2 jobs just to keep food on the table. But Lydia had a dream. She wanted to start a catering business. Now, most people in Lydia's situation would have said, I don't have time. I'm too tired. I'll wait until the kids are older. I'll wait until I have more money. But Lydia didn't wait for conditions to be perfect. She didn't wait to feel ready. Instead, she made a plan. Every night after her children went to bed, from 10 o'clock to midnight, Lydia worked on her business. She tested recipes. She called potential clients. She designed menus. She saved money. For 2 years she did this. 2 years of working when she was exhausted. 2 years of sacrificing sleep. 2 years of doing what needed to be done when everything in her body said stop. Do you know what happened today? Lydia owns 3 restaurants. She employs 40 people. She put all 3 of her children through university. And when people ask her how she did it, she doesn't talk about talent or luck or perfect timing. She talks about consistency. She talks about showing up every single night whether she felt like it or not. She talks about following her plan when her mood screamed for rest. Lydia understood something that most people never learned. She understood that small actions, repeated consistently over time, create compound results that look like miracles to people who don't understand the principle. Your plan is your profit. Let me say that again. Your plan is your profit. It speaks your future before your future arrives. When you write down a plan and you commit to it, you're not just organizing your schedule, you're prophesying your destiny, you're declaring what will be before it is. But here's what happens. Most people write plans and then they let their feelings edit those plans every single day. They write down their goals and then they negotiate with those goals based on their mood. And they wonder why their future never matches their vision. Your future will never match your vision if your actions don't match your plan. See, there's a spiritual principle at work here. Vision always comes before feeling. Abraham didn't feel like leaving his homeland, but he had a vision. Moses didn't feel brave when he stood before Pharaoh, but he had a plan. Every great achievement in human history started with a vision that demanded action before feeling confirmed it. The Wright brothers didn't wait until flying felt possible. They decided it was possible and they worked until reality matched their decision. Now, I'm not telling you to ignore your emotions completely. Your emotions are not evil. They're not the enemy. They're just not qualified to be the leader. Emotions make terrible masters, but excellent servants. When you put your plan in charge and your emotions in their proper place, your emotions can actually serve you. Fear can make you cautious when you need to be careful. Anger can give you energy when you need to fight for something important. Sadness can make you reflective when you need to learn from loss. But these emotions serve your purpose. They don't define it. They inform your journey. They don't determine your destination. You are not a thermometer that just reflects the temperature around you. You are a thermostat that sets the temperature regardless of the conditions. And that starts with making your plan your authority and your mood your servant. So let me give you something practical right now, something you can use tomorrow morning when you wake up and everything in you wants to stay in bed. I call this the Monday morning principle. Monday morning is when your motivation is at its lowest. The weekend is over. The week stretches out ahead of you. Your body is comfortable. Your bed is warm. And that first decision you make on Monday morning sets the tone for your entire week. If you win Monday morning, you'll likely win Monday. If you win Monday, you'll likely win the week. If you win the week, you'll likely win the month. And if you win enough months, you'll win the year. But it all starts with that first moment when the alarm goes off and you have to choose between your plan and your comfort. Here's what you do. The night before, you prepare everything. You lay out your clothes. You prepare your breakfast. You write down the first 3 things you need to accomplish. You remove every obstacle between waking up and starting. And then when that alarm goes off, you move before you think. You don't negotiate. You don't debate. You don't ask yourself how you feel. You simply move. You put your feet on the floor. You stand up. You go to the bathroom. You splash water on your face. And here's what happens. The moment you start moving, your emotions start following. Your feelings are not leaders. They're followers. They don't create action. They respond to action. So you act first. And your feelings will catch up later. I knew a writer named Bernard. Bernard wanted to write a book for 20 years. 20 years he talked about it. 20 years he waited to feel inspired. And for 20 years, nothing happened. Until one day, Bernard stopped waiting for inspiration and he created a system. Every morning at 6 o'clock, before work, before family, before anything else, Bernard sat at his desk and he wrote for 1 hour. Some mornings the words flowed easily. Most mornings they didn't. Some mornings he wrote beautiful prose. Most mornings he wrote garbage that he'd delete the next day. But every single morning he sat in that chair for 1 hour. He didn't wait to feel creative. He didn't wait for the muse to visit him. He just showed up. And you know what happened? In 18 months, Bernard finished his book. Not only did he finish it, but it got published. Not only did it get published, but it became required reading in universities. Today, thousands of people have been impacted by words that would have never been written if Bernard had waited to feel like writing them. This is the power of small actions creating unbreakable momentum. See, momentum isn't built by giant leaps. Momentum is built by tiny steps, repeated so consistently that they become unstoppable. It's physics. An object in motion stays in motion. But you have to get the object moving first. And that's where most people fail. They're waiting for some massive surge of energy to launch them forward. But that's not how it works. You start small. You start with 5 minutes. You start with 1 page. You start with 1 phone call. You start with 1 repetition. And that small start creates a tiny bit of momentum. Tomorrow you do it again. And the momentum grows. The day after, you do it again. And the momentum grows stronger. And eventually, that momentum becomes so powerful that it carries you through the days when you don't feel like moving. But what do you do on those days when even the small action feels impossible? What do you do when you wake up and you don't just lack motivation, you have active resistance? Let me tell you what champions do. They talk to themselves instead of listening to themselves. Most people listen to themselves. They wake up and they listen to their thoughts saying, I'm too tired, I can't do this, I'll start tomorrow. And they believe those thoughts because they sound like truth. But champions talk to themselves. They wake up and they say, I don't care how I feel right now, I made a commitment and I'm keeping it. My feelings are temporary, but my purpose is permanent. I'm getting up, I'm moving, I'm doing what I said I would do. This is the difference between mature people and immature people. Immature people are controlled by their feelings. They're emotional slaves. They do what feels good and avoid what feels bad. But mature people control their feelings. They acknowledge the feeling, they don't deny it, but they don't obey it either. They say, I feel afraid, but I'm moving forward anyway. Maturity is the ability to do what needs to be done when you don't feel like doing it. Let me tell you one final story. There was a young man named Trevor. Trevor grew up in poverty. His father left when he was young. His mother struggled with addiction. By the time Trevor was 16, he was living on the streets. Everyone who looked at Trevor saw a statistic. They saw someone destined for failure. But Trevor saw something different. Trevor saw a plan. He wrote down on a piece of cardboard that he kept in his backpack, I will graduate high school. I will go to university. I will build a life my children will be proud of. Every day. Trevor pulled out that piece of cardboard and he read it. And every day he did one thing that aligned with that plan. Some days it was studying in the library. Some days it was filling out scholarship applications. Some days it was just showing up to school when everything in him wanted to give up. There were days Trevor was so hungry he couldn't concentrate. There were days he was so tired from sleeping in shelters that he could barely keep his eyes open. There were days he felt so hopeless that ending his life seemed easier than continuing it. But every single day, Trevor looked at his plan and he took one step forward. He didn't wait to feel hopeful. He didn't wait to feel capable. He didn't wait for his circumstances to improve. He followed his plan while his mood screamed at him to quit. Today, Trevor is a physician. He runs a free clinic in the neighborhood where he used to sleep on the streets. He treats people who remind him of who he used to be. And when young people ask him how he made it, he pulls out that same piece of cardboard, now laminated and framed on his office wall. And he tells them, this plan saved my life, not because it was a perfect plan, not because it was an easy plan, but because on the days when my feelings told me to die, my plan told me to live. And I chose to follow my plan instead of my mood. That's the choice in front of you right now. You have a plan. Maybe you wrote it down. Maybe it's just in your heart. But you know what you're supposed to be doing. You know what you're called to build. You know what you're meant to become. And every single day, you have to choose between that plan and your temporary feelings. Your feelings will give you 1,000 reasons to quit. Your feelings will show you all the obstacles. Your feelings will remind you of every past failure. Your feelings will paint a picture of how hard it's going to be. But your plan speaks a different language. Your plan speaks of possibility. Your plan speaks of purpose. Your plan speaks of the person you're becoming through the process of not giving up. So here's what I'm telling you. Stop waiting to feel ready. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. Stop waiting for your emotions to align with your destiny. They never will. Your destiny is bigger than your comfort zone. Your purpose is greater than your temporary pleasure. The life you're meant to live is on the other side of the feelings you don't want to feel. And the only way to get there is to follow your plan when your mood says stop. Follow your plan when you're tired. Follow your plan when you're scared. Follow your plan when you're discouraged. Follow your plan when everyone around you is quitting. Follow your plan when the results aren't showing yet. Follow your plan until the plan becomes who you are. Because here's the truth that will set you free. You were not created to be a slave to your emotions. You were created to be a master of your destiny. And destiny doesn't respond to feelings. Destiny responds to decisions. Destiny responds to discipline. Destiny responds to people who say what they're going to do and then do it, regardless of how they feel in the moment. The world is waiting for what you're carrying. The world needs what's inside you, but the world will never see it if you keep following your mood instead of your plan. So make the decision right now. Decide that from this moment forward. Your plan is your authority, and your mood is just a passenger. Decide that you will do what you said you would do, whether you feel like it or not. Decide that your word to yourself is more sacred than your temporary comfort. And watch what happens when you start living like someone who keeps their promises, especially the promises you make to yourself. That's when everything changes. That's when you stop existing and start living. That's when your life stops being an accident and becomes a masterpiece. Follow your plan. not your mood. And I promise you, the person you become through that process will be worth every uncomfortable moment you had to push through to get there.